Welcome back to another episode of Unpacked. We are in the middle of a very good, great, and even compelling conversation. So I don't want to waste any more time. We're going to jump right back in. See you soon. Even if you're going to renovate, if we were to renovate this room, we couldn't even start demolitioning anything before we even begin to get our mind around, why are we doing this?
Right, right.
What is the expected outcome? What is the purpose? Answering some questions.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we have to now set a plan. Is there things we want to keep? Is there things we want to take away? What can we use? What can we not? Okay, if we're going to renovate this, this is such a big project. Where do we start?
Yeah.
How much square footage do we do?
And all of that takes weeks and weeks and weeks. And then you get to the end of the week, you're like, but nothing's changed. And it's accurate and inaccurate all at the same time.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Because nothing in this room has physically changed, but your mindset about this room, your understanding of this room, your plan.
That's right.
And so there is, and that is exactly how it goes in therapy. You're like, I've been in therapy for 4 months and I don't feel like nothing's changed yet. I'm like, well,
yeah,
yes and no.
That's
right.
It takes us all that time to get the concept map.
Yeah, this is before we even start to break ground.
And it may take, to go back to what you're saying, this all gets tied together.
Yeah.
You don't trust me yet. You may not give me all the pieces.
Right.
So I got to take 4 to 6 months for us to build a relationship.
For sure.
A professional one. Mm-hmm. Then we're going to take 4 months to do the concept map.
Yeah.
And then we'll start doing some work. And that's probably going to make it look worse before it gets better. Speaking of renovation metaphors.
For sure.
I'm going to look like a hot mess in here.
That's
right. I'm going to tear
You're not
stuff
going to
up.
like it. You're going to like it worse.
Right.
That's right.
But we have to hold on to the vision of this is where we're going.
That's right.
This is a very long and tedious process.
Well, and renovation, typically, you need somebody to come in and help you do it.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not
Any
a
renovation
it's not a DIY.
Process, even if it is a DIY, you don't necessarily, I haven't seen anybody renovate by themselves.
You need help.
They have you need help. You have to have a contractor or electrician or somebody can help you. And that's the point, right? Even to renovate your mind, it takes somebody
Okay,
to help.
so I want to run with the metaphor.
Run with it.
Run
because
fast.
Got your sneakers on?
we
Track
just
star.
we've been on Unpacked before and talked about, and I'm going to take it back to like the healing process and formal therapy is a privilege.
Yeah.
I am not completely against the DIY metaphor here. There are things you can do. You should do them in community. It's far more helpful.
For sure.
Which is what you're talking about.
That's right.
And I'm a little bit of a DIYer, like in the home front. I enjoy that. Mm-hmm. I like it. It is not as good as a contractor. I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. When I call in the professionals, the work is different. It's at a different level. I want to hold space for the both and of that.
Yeah.
Like if all you have access to is the self-help book, by golly, let's get some recommended list out there for the ones that are good and ones that are not.
Right.
Because there's a lot of bunk out there.
Right.
But
that's right.
I do understand the person who needs to start with DIY and is reaching for that because of a lack of resources. Let's make sure you watch the right YouTube videos before you start pulling out the pipes. And let's make sure you have the right books and the right.
Right.
And I feel personally challenged as a professional to try to increase access in some creative ways. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it is not the same as going and formally working with a coach or counselor.
For sure.
Because that's like bringing in the drywall guy who has done this for decades and going to get that level 5
for sure
smooth surface.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I do pretty good.
Right.
But I can't do that.
Right.
And there's just a
I give you level 3.5.
That's right.
Yeah. You're going to get a 3.5.
I'll do level 1 and be real happy. Like I skim coated that texture
That's
wall.
right.
It's pretty good.
That's right.
But it's not level 5.
That's right.
That's
and I'm going to have to invest if I want the professional to come in and do that level 5 skim coat. I'm like, okay.
That's right.
So
you make time and you plan.
You make time and you plan. I'll add this to the, we've got to debunk, whatever your expectation of timeline is. Conceptually, we invite people all while honoring the boundary of their no and their willingness and their choice. Mm-hmm. Most of what happens between the ears is very counterintuitive. And sometimes people come in with a concept map of the time that they don't want to agree to, and they're going to argue with us about. It's like, you're not chained to the metaphorical couch. You may leave at any time. I am not going to force you to do this. But the other thing that there seems to be some wrestling with is, but this is not how I thought this would go. And the sassy side of me goes, well, if you knew what to do, you would not be here. And I need you to trust that maybe doing differently might be the key to your success.
Yes.
And so it's at least being open to consider that the counterintuitive thing that we're going to ask you to try might be helpful. And I am okay that it doesn't make sense to you.
Yeah.
I feel no judgment. I'm cool with that. And if you just want to keep doing what you've been doing,
go in peace.
Go in peace, because I cannot help you.
Right.
That part.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that part? The go in peace part?
Mm-hmm. It kind of goes back to the readiness piece.
Yeah.
If you're not ready to, maybe you're ready, but you're not ready to accept the model and do the work.
Yeah.
A good therapist is going to say, hey, go. There's no judgment.
A good therapist
go. The operative word here is good.
It's not about me.
Right.
It's go in
We're here to
peace.
help you. And if you're not here to help you.
That's what Jesus did.
Yeah.
Do you want to be made well? If not, go in peace.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think that's, a good therapist. If someone goes, I really can't get past this. This is so counterintuitive. I don't want to do this.
Then wouldn't you all determine that there's actually something else that's bothering this person?
We might try to get at that. I mean, we're real creative. We'll try to backdoor, I always tell people, I'm going to honor your no. And then I'm going to ask questions about it.
Yeah.
Because if I understand the no better, maybe we can backdoor this.
For
and
sure.
I'm real upfront about that. So sometimes we can work around. In therapy, it's called the resistance. Sometimes people have feelings about that. The resistance is always good information.
Right.
Like, it doesn't bother me. You want to resist this? Fantastic. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can work around that. There are times when it is a therapeutic fit issue. There are times, so I am just not the right therapist for you.
Yeah.
I won't do it that way. You might find someone who does. There are times when that is simply a neutral philosophy difference, and I will try to refer you to someone who does that. Sometimes I am concerned that that's what you want, but again, that is yours to choose. Sometimes it's a readiness.
Yeah.
I'm just not willing to give this up. Great. I am going to be honest with you that therapy is not going to work, at least with me, the way I understand this, and I try to be really honest and explain and offer. So I would suggest waiting. And that is one of the ways I honor a no.
Yep.
That is one of the ways I offer safety.
Well, but do you, for those types of individuals, can you assess their temperament and assess where they are and say, hey, we may not be compatible, but try this person?
Sometimes I'm going to give the really obnoxious answer of it depends.
Yeah.
It just depends on what the challenge is or kind of the hurdle. Sometimes it is just fit.
Yeah.
So I'll help myself, which I feel like I've done before, but I'm an Enneagram 8.
I have not taken this Enneagram. I know everybody is all about these tests. I have not taken, so I don't know what any of these numbers mean. I'm sorry. Tim is a 2. He said that earlier.
Yeah,
You're an
we're
8.
intense. In fact, Tim has nicknamed me the captain in our circles because
Captain
of that.
Marvel, to be exact.
Captain Marvel.
Yes.
And if you've ever seen that, the intensity just flies out of her. There's some truth to that. So I can just sit in a space and people feel it. And for some people, that's going to be too much. Mm-hmm. For some people who can see past it, I would like to believe that I hold the walls up for you. Mm. That is what my strength does in a therapy session. I am literally the opposite of Samson pushing down the walls. I'm literally holding them up for you. So that's how I use my strength. But sometimes just the presence of my intensity is too much for a certain personality. I am so okay with that.
Yeah.
I am not offended by that.
Yep.
I want to get you with someone who feels different in the room.
Yep.
Some people really want to come to counseling for a butt whooping. I don't actually do that.
Yeah.
But when they experience my intensity, it feels like a good fit for them.
Yeah.
And so they're signing up for that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is just temperament, personality fit.
Yeah.
What I don't want anybody to hear is that your story or your personality or the professional, should I say, is a qualifier or disqualifier.
Yep.
It is a tenderness to what do I need in this moment?
Yep.
And I just don't take it personally when it's not me. And I want to help them get there. So that's kind of my long answer.
Yeah.
All right, so let me synthesize, because this is like, I am so happy we're talking to you, because I think you're giving a lot of context to people that maybe haven't taken that step yet.
Sure.
Right? Or maybe they took that step and they had a bad experience.
Sure.
So if I'm synthesizing what I've heard you all say, it's going to take longer than most people think.
Yeah.
Oh, and the second thing was, I just had this in my head while you were talking. It's going to take longer than you think.
Counterintuitive.
And it's counterintuitive, right? It's gonna be the opposite of what I'm thinking, right? It's gonna be the opposite of what I've been doing. It's counterintuitive. I would rather do it this way. You're gonna ask me to do it this way, right? I would rather have it hot. You want it cold. I would rather have it up. You want it down.
It's like a marriage.
You know,
basically.
You want me to go right, and this is supposed to go left in my head. So if it's harder and it's counterintuitive, they have the option to leave.
At any time.
Can you talk to us before we wrap up about what they can expect if they are brave enough
to stay?
It'll be better than you probably imagined.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
we
go
talk
ahead.
about we as professionals having the staying power.
Yep.
And that's being the safe person and saying, I'm in it with you.
Yep.
And where you are today isn't where you're going to be in 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, whatever it's going to take.
Yep.
But that ability to, I'll lend you my hope. I'll have the staying power that maybe you don't have.
Yep.
And eventually you'll find your own. And
You won't need mine anymore.
you won't need it.
Yeah.
I think that's the hard part for people to believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is hard.
It's the hard for them to believe that it will be better, or I can be better, or I even can feel better.
Yeah.
Because if they haven't felt that way,
How
would you?
how
How can this thing change?
So that's where we talk about, I'll lend you some hope.
We lend hope a lot.
Let me give you a little bit of mine because I can, I'll let you hold mine.
We're hope
Yeah.
lenders. And it's not a pie in the sky hope.
It's
Yep.
reality based.
It's very, and I think a good therapist does not promise outcomes because I can't control the person in front of me.
For sure.
I think it's important for everybody to hear that because I think people will go in, well, can you guarantee me this will happen? And be like, no. However, when we lend you our hope, I think a good therapist can cast a vision based on reality.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite parts of my job is to go, hold on. It could look like that. It could work like that. And I don't actually have to have concrete details
For sure.
to cast a hopeful vision of if this shifted, can you see how this might work a little bit differently?
Yeah.
And part of that vision, in my opinion, in like 99.9 cases should be working myself out of a job, which means you will not be dependent on me because I'm going to teach you how to do it.
That's right.
So for those that are watching and listening, I want you to, can you lend a little hope right now
Yeah.
for those who may feel like, okay, in just listening to you, okay, I want to try it, but what if a lot of my stuff has to deal with people that are around me that it won't change or my situation won't change. And so I'm just coming in by myself. I'm coming in alone. I don't have any support. How do you help that person if they're coming to you, but their scenario or their situation is always going to be the same when they go back home? How do you give them a hope?
One of the phrases that we learned in our sex therapy training that applies, in my opinion, to all healing on this side of eternity is that healing may be still occurring and present, and we are not returning to Eden state until Jesus comes back.
Sure.
And so our concept for what healing looks like sometimes has to shift.
Good.
So we're not going back to Eden state. And then I'll throw in, and then I want to tag you and see what you would say. if you understand systems, which is what you're talking about, Juliet, that we exist in the context of others who may or may not choose to engage in their growth and healing process. But the rule of systems is only one person has to change the system.
Okay.
And that's hard because the gears are going to grind against each other in the process.
Sure.
So I'm not saying it's not hard, but if you refuse to do the same dance that you have always been doing in the system has no choice but to make an adjustment.
That's
I cannot guarantee what it will be.
But it will shift.
Oh, yeah.
But it
There will be an
shift.
adjustment.
For sure.
And the hope would be that if you will only participate in a healthy dynamic, as slow going as it might be and as grinding as the gears might be for a season, that eventually there might be a tiny shift toward health by the others. There are times that doesn't happen. And then we teach you how to grieve.
Wow.
And have boundaries and make choices.
Yeah.
Make different choices.
But the
for
hope
yourself.
would be
Yeah.
that you would be the system changer.
Yeah. It's good.
And so again, this is how we vision cast. So
Yeah.
And that's part of the skill set that we teach too. Okay,
Yeah.
you went back to your system. This is what's going on. Skills, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We grieve it. And part of the work and part of the skills is developing a support system, and it may be outside of that system.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
You know,
That's right.
you've got your family of origin stuff. You
Right.
may be building,
Yeah.
your other kind of family
Create a
over
new
here.
one. Yeah.
That's right.
That gives you those nutrients, that gives you that health,
good.
that lets you be the
That
healthy
supplement.
person
Yeah.
that you want to be.
yeah.
It's really good.
I want to, I feel like I have a scriptural tie-in for this.
You're awesome.
Because this is my first time hearing about system changers, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so
Loving it.
when you think about changing systems, this is what Abram did when he left Ur of the Chaldees, right? The word that was actually given to him in Genesis 12:1 is a system-changing word. Get thee out of thy country and thy father's house to a place that I will show you.
Yeah.
Literally, leave your family of origin,
Yeah.
right? I need you to look at your food and make a different decision,
Yeah.
right? I need you to change the entire system by which your family structure operates, your thinking system operates, your
Yes.
communicative systems operate. And I feel like we have the capacity to do it because we have Bible to do it. That's my integration of the two fields, right? Is what you call system changing in therapy is what we call generational curse breaking
Oh, yes.
in church. But generational curse breaking is system changing, and system changing is generational
They
curse
marry well.
breaking. They are married.
They are
They are the
married unit.
same thing.
Yes, they are.
And when we can marry the two, right? Not keep everything spiritual and not keep everything mental, and marry the two. Like there is a soul in a body with a mind.
Well, listen, science and faith are not enemies.
They're not.
I had the privilege of teaching that integration course at the graduate level for years. And what I've always told people is good science, which psychology is the science of studying basically humans and people. And it's a soft science because we can't flip your brain open and measure things. But
Right.
Good science is simply accurate observation and describing. Now, the scientists have beliefs and theories and feelings, and we start putting those out there, and those may disagree. But faith and spirituality and our faith is meaning making.
Yes.
So do the scientists start, going into that space and making meaning about what we are observing? Sure, they do. Do they sometimes want to go out of their way to leave Jesus and faith out of it? Sure, they do. But science in and of itself is just the accurate observation and description of what we see playing out, which means it is putting language and words to the sin and the restoration and the story
Right.
that we have very deep meaning making about already.
Yep.
They're not enemies.
Yeah, that's right. That's beautiful.
There are some churches and some pastors that feel like they just shouldn't be married and never the two. And it's such a disgrace because you're not helping your people.
It's so sad.
It is sad, and it's not even true. You know that therapy, medicine, and church should be separate. And it's like I just 110,000% disagree. But you know, ignorance sometimes spreads like a cancer.
Yeah.
And when you are in leadership roles and you have certain belief systems, you know, it infects.
Yeah.
But hopefully it's these conversations, you know what I mean? It's these topics, it's these things that help people know this is not, you know, like it doesn't have to be that, and how they're actually a healthy whole marriage.
Yeah. Thank y'all so much. Like, I really feel like the perspective that you all have brought is like the neatest bow that we can put on all the discussions that we've had about mental health and having peace of mind. So I really appreciate both of you all and the work that you do.
I really appreciate that you guys have gone here as a church.
Thank you.
You
brought
deserve
the gift.
thank you.
We might be the bow, but you brought the gift, and you two have done a powerful thing by allowing this conversation.
Thank you
so much, and thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
Listen, thank you so much for joining us and being a part of Unpacked and covering this entire mental health series. We hope again and pray that it was insightful, it was helpful, and that you were able to get tools needed to push you forward. Hopefully, Kimberly and Jenna were here to even give you that one little push to say, hey, come see us. You know, we're not going to bite. We're going to be a super safe space for you.
Yeah.
And if you can't afford, let's give you some books. Let's give you some tools.
Yes.
But to know that there is help for you. And if your situation can't change, you can be the situation changer.
Yes.
Thank you so much for a great season. And until next time, God bless. Welcome, my Unpacked family. Listen, I have an announcement for you. This announcement has been a long time coming. I want you to tell your friends. I want you to tell everybody that you know, because finally, in the history of ever, there was a history. For the first time this year, 2022, Embassy City Church will have their first women's conference. Yay! It is about time, I know it, and I am glad that this year, September 9th and 10th, we are finally doing our first ever women's conference. So be prepared. We are going to have a blast. Tell your friends, and I will see you soon.